Hey everybody. So this is the beginning of what is the homework assignment for Radical Recovery Peer Support, okay? So this is a description of the homework, and I want to point out that homework is not due until you want to take the facilitator course. So as you participate in the Radical Recovery Peer Support program, please do not worry about the homework unless you have time and feel comfortable doing all of the work. When we work on this group together and when we participate together in a Zoom session or either in person or whatever, okay, you do not have to have homework answers ready for the group, okay? If you work on them beforehand, they may help you stay organized, they may help you provide more thoughtful answers, but that's not necessarily required, okay? The only time you have to have your homework ready is when you want to become a facilitator because you may actually use some of your answers to kind of inspire and motivate the participants in the course. So if no one wants to participate, you'll actually share your own answers, and that might get some conversation started. Okay, so now I want to show you what the homework looks like. Typically, every homework assignment, okay, in the PowerPoints says homework over here. You see where my mouse is? And you see where it says homework. Okay, to the left of the yellow box. Okay, now this is the how does this passage connect to assignment. Okay, and when we click in here, we can actually type how this passage connects to whatever concept or fundamental we're talking about. As you move through the course, you'll understand what I mean by concepts and fundamentals. And when we talk about a particular inspirational passage, we'll want to connect that passage to whatever concept or fundamental we're talking about. Okay, so that could be a concept like hope, or as a concept like self care, recovery planning, or mentorship, or a fundamental like hope or personal responsibility. Okay, so we'll have a passage where a person in recovery is talking pretty much about one of those concepts or fundamentals. Okay, they're sharing a little bit of their story. So we'll try to connect the story they share to the concept, and that will look like this. Okay, so the assignment. How does this passage connect or relate to? It must include three keywords from the passage. Okay, so you'll be reading the passage or you'll be listening to the passage, and you'll try to pick out three important words that convey some kind of understanding or meaning. Okay? So the concept or fundamental must be listed at least twice, as you see here, at least twice. Okay? And we'll underline the keywords that we use, and we'll underline the concepts that we're talking about. So if we pick three keywords, as it says here, we'll underline each of them. But if we're talking about a word like we, the, or a, that don't really convey a concept but are in the passage, that won't be counted. Okay? So we'll pick three keywords that do convey meaning and understanding. Okay, and then we'll underline them. And we'll relate them to the concept or fundamental, as you can see here. And we'll underline the concept and fundamental as well. And then we talk about how variations of words used in the passages are accepted. If the word simple is in the passage, the inspirational story that is being shared, if they said simple, when we talk about it, we might change it to simplest or some variation of the word. So it is a word, simple, that conveys meaning, and we'll change it possibly to something like simplest. Whatever keyword we use must be underlined, and so should the concept or the fundamental that's being talked about. That way we can easily see that you have done this assignment. Now, typically, there are three questions after that. So we listen to the passage or we read the passage and then we connect it to the concept or fundamental. And you would have something like this. Question one. Okay, right after that. And it'll say homework over here on the left, where my mouse is. And it'll be a yellow box. And we'll fill out the yellow box. The same thing with question two. The same thing with question three. Okay. Now, typically, this yellow box, the text is already sized to fit, okay? So we don't want to write so much that it goes way beyond this yellow box. And we don't want to have to make the text smaller so that we can write more. So we only have limited time, okay? And we have to get this done in the time allotted. Okay, but typically this is a continued education program. So we have to get it done in the time allotted. So we do not want to make the text smaller. We don't even want to make the text bigger because then maybe we won't say as much as we could have said. The text is optimally sized for this exercise. I hope that explains the basic homework assignments here. And next, we're going to talk about the recovery capital goal and the recovery plan. So, recovery capital goal and the recovery plan are both key parts of the homework in this program, but again, they don't need to be done until after the program is complete, after you participate, when you want to become a facilitator. However, the recovery capital goal and the recovery plan goals are very important in helping us ensure that we achieve progress while we participate in this program. Well, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you joining us in this journey. Hi, everybody. Today we're going to talk about the recovery plan. There's a couple different kinds of recovery plans. We're going to be talking about the recovery capital goal plan, and we're going to be talking about the three different recovery plans for the program. So sometimes in the group, we will actually go over our recovery plans and discuss them with each other. So we're going to point out how to do these plans so that when it comes time to discuss them in group, you'll be a step ahead. So here we go. Welcome to your recovery plan. All right, so as you can see here, now this is for the regular RRPS group, the original, and we would have the recovery capital goal. Okay, that's a different kind of recovery plan, but pretty much with the same structure and format. And then you have a 1 year plan, a 3 year plan, and a 5 year plan. So these are the plans that you would take and the goals you would have for each time period. So you might have goals you might want to do in 1 year, goals you want to do in about 3 years, and goals you might do in about 5 years. Just to point out though, okay, this is for the regular original version of the program. Then we have the Liberation version of the program. You can learn more about that just by reaching out or going to our website, communitypeerservices.com. But the Liberation plan actually has a 6 month plan, a 1 year plan, and a 3 year plan. This is because in that version of the program, the needs a person might have might be more urgent. Okay. And then we have the university program, and the goal plans for that are actually a 3 year, a 5 year, and a 10 year plan. So it's a little bit different, but in the university plan, we're kind of planning long-term goals. So you can see pretty much we always have a recovery capital goal, and then we have three different time spans which we try to plan our goals for. So that's pretty much the basics, and we'll continue. So this is going to be information about the recovery capital goal. As you can see in the bottom right portion of your screen, it says that this will be discussed during the second session. So what is a recovery capital goal? What is recovery capital? As you can see here, recovery capital is anything from an internal strength or quality to an external resource or opportunity. And we go further to say recovery capital is all the strengths and resources and any kind of opportunities or qualities you might have that can improve your life, situation, or experience, or help you achieve any kind of goal. Okay, so your recovery capital goal helps you improve things or achieve things. If recovery capital sounds too difficult, you can just call it capital. In business, Capital is the stuff that goes into making anything possible. So that would be in business like money or human resources or equipment or buildings and facilities, okay? Intellectual property and patents and stuff. Okay, but I know we're going a little far there, but capital is always the stuff that makes things possible. Okay, we'll just boil it down to that. So here we have at the bottom, okay, a bunch of check marks. You can see them here if you see my mouse. Check marks down here. There's like 11 items. Okay. Now we talk about how sometimes having the right capital is an absolute requirement to do certain things. So in the beginning of recovery, some of us might be struggling with these. Okay, these ones are particularly important in the beginning of recovery. So if we have them, we may recover a little bit easier. If we do not have them, things could be a little more difficult. So as you see here, we have safe and affordable housing, employment and job readiness, education and vocational skills, life and recovery skills, health and wellness, sense of belonging and purpose, community and civic engagement, recovery support networks, resiliency, transportation, and confidence. Okay. So the idea is we're going to pick one of these. Okay. And you can choose any one of them. It's your choice. Okay. But hopefully it'll be one of these because we'd like to help you improve on these. So if you want to pick any one of these, okay, you'll pick one and the goal will be to try to improve that. Okay. And in the end of the day, okay, you see confidence down here. If we're not able to improve some of these by the time the program is over, we do hope at least you'll have more confidence that you'll be able to. So hopefully we at least improve your confidence by the end of the program. Now, this is what the recovery plan would look like on paper. Okay, and there's worksheets here in the PowerPoint for you to be able to fill this out and type in your answers. Okay, so first you pick the goal, and then you list it. So the goal here was, you see here, to get a master's degree. Then the person lists the strengths and recovery capital they'll use to achieve the goal, right? So this person said their strengths and the recovery capital they have. Remember, recovery capital is anything that can contribute to something working out for you, right? So the strengths and recovery capital are have a bachelor's degree, time, they're on disability and self-employed, and they're also experienced with online courses. So this must be some kind of online master's degree. So that is a good strength for them. They are experienced with them. So any strengths or recovery capital you would use to complete your goal would go here. Next, we have the challenges or obstacles in different slides. Okay, so challenges or obstacles. Okay, and this person said, okay, my challenge for this is that classes are condensed, so more is required in a shorter time. That sounds like a pretty good challenge to me. And now, of course, this isn't an extensive, filled out plan here. These are just a couple points that were made. And at first, you're probably just going to have a couple points to make, but we can always return to our plan and make it more extensive. We can add things to it. Maybe we realize, okay, there's more challenges than I thought at first. And we add them as we go, right? So then, after strengths, recovery capital, and challenges, we have action steps right here. Okay, so what are action steps? Action steps are all the little small steps that you would take to complete the bigger goal. So the big goal, okay, over here was to get the master's degree, right? The action steps, the little steps the person was going to take, was they were going to clear their agenda for the first week. They were going to start each day with school first, and they were going to complete all assignments before any recreation. Okay, there's probably a lot more action steps to get a master's degree, but these are the first things they put down. Remember, we can always return to this and add more action steps as we go. And then, of course, date of completion. Okay, so the final date they wanted to complete this was August 10th, 2025. Right now it's November 10th, 2025. I wonder if they completed their goal. Now, if they didn't complete their goal, the idea is to return here and update the date with what we then think is more realistic for a date of completion. Also, in terms of date of completion, some people like to put a date for each of their action steps. Now, you don't see that here, but they could have said, okay, what are the dates for, well, these are kind of ongoing things. So these would be ongoing, right? But if there was something that needed to be done by a certain date, it'd be great to put that on there as well. Okay. So you can put that right below each action step. Now, this is what it looks like in the assignment where you can actually fill it out. So it's right there in the PowerPoint. It's a little bit different because instead of having the goal over here on the left in the table, it says the goal up top. That's because we needed more room to be able to fill out things in this table. So you'll just put the goal up top and you'll do your strengths and recovery capital, your obstacles, your action steps, and date of completion. And you can type directly in here. You just got to click and then you can type. Okay. Now, on the next page for the goal, there is more room for action steps. Okay, so you can add action steps in there. And then another thing that's really important in the recovery plan is who is going to be involved, right? You see down here, people involved. All right, people involved is really important because when it comes to big goals, it's probably not just us who are going to work on that, or, we're going to need some support to achieve the goal. So, who all is going to be involved? Who's going to support you? And that is what it looks like to do a recovery plan. So as you can see here, now we have in the packet, okay, in the same PowerPoint slide that you all have access to, you have the recovery plan for year one. Now this, okay, is down in the right corner of your screen. It says is discussed during the fourth session. Okay, so we would try to have this ready by the fourth session, right? Okay, so what is recovery plan year one about? All right. So the recovery plan format is a little bit different than the recovery capital goal format. Okay, we still have the 1 year plan, the 3 year plan, and the 5 year plan, but now we add additional elements. Okay, so there's three types of goals we're going to do for each year. So for each, the 1 year plan, the 3 year plan, and the 5 year plan, we'll develop three goals. One goal will be something that we might need to work on every day. Now, this is a goal that is going to need consistent effort to achieve. Then we have goals that need to be worked on every so often. So this is going to be something that we need to check in and do some work for, every so often. Could be once a week, could be once a month, could be any kind of combination. It's just not quite something we need to do every day. Then we have a big goal. So a goal that is big, it might take the entire year or 3 years or 5 years. Okay. So our goals that need to be worked on every day and every so often, they might change a little bit. And we might need to go back in and add new goals for those, right? But then the goals that might take the entire year, 3 year or 5 years, okay, those are a little bit bigger. And we can choose whatever goal we want, of course, right? These goals are not like the recovery capital goal where we encourage you to choose one from a list. These are goals that you come up with as long as they meet these criteria, okay? So that would be something that could be worked on every day, every so often, or that might take the span of years. All right? And here is an exercise that we do before we start the recovery plan. It's what we do in the 168 hours of the week. Why do we list that here? Well, because some people might feel like they have no time to do, different things to help themselves improve their lives, right? But when they put it all down on paper, they might realize they have more time than they thought they did, right? Or that certain things that they do put on here just aren't as important as they thought they were, and they could be doing something different. So I encourage you to consider that. But also, when we fill this out, we might see that some really important things, we don't have a lot of time. So when it comes to really important things, they're not getting as much time as we wish they would. So maybe we can identify some things that can change so that the important things in our lives can have, more attention. So this is just a fun activity to kind of figure out what our weeks look like, right? All right. Then pretty much you have your 1 year everyday goals. Same thing. Goal at the top, strengths, recovery, capital, obstacles, action steps, date of completion. Okay, pretty much the same thing. More room for action steps, people involved as well, and that's your everyday goal. Then you have pretty much the same thing. Goals we need every once in a while. Goal up top, everything else in the table. More room for action steps, then the people involved, and then the 1 year big achievement, right? So this is the big achievement you want to do in 1 year, okay? And you will put the goal up top, and you will fill out all your strengths, recovery capital, obstacles, action steps, and date of completion for it, like everything else. And if you need more room for action steps, there it is. People involved? Sure. So then, of course, the recovery plan for year three, the 3 year plan. And as you can see in the bottom right corner of your screen, it's discussed during session five. Okay, so this would be the final session of the program. And we'll just, wrap that program up by having a discussion about our recovery plan. All right. Now, the 3 year goal wasn't the end, but you see it's the same thing. Everyday goals, as you see up top, everyday goals right here. Same thing, more room for action steps. Now we're back to goals we need every once in a while for the 3 year period. Then next is big achievements, as you see. So there's always three types of goals. For each of the 3 year periods, 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year, you have goals that you might need to work on every day, goals you might need to work on every so often, and then you have your really big goal for the period. It's the same for each recovery plan. Now, this is about the 5 year recovery plan. Pretty much, this just says, hey, we're not going to talk about the 5 year recovery plan in group. We did not have enough time to make it there, but it's still worth filling out. And if you want to become a facilitator, you do have to complete all of these activities. And then, too, if we're working with a person, say we're a peer supporter and we work with people one on one, and they want to work on a radical recovery peer support program, we can show them what our recovery plan looked like, and that can help them with their plan. So we do encourage you to do the 5 year recovery plan, even though it won't be discussed in group. Okay, so pretty much same thing for 5 year recovery plan. Everyday goals, goals we need once in a while, big achievement. Congratulations, you are done. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please watch the rest of the videos so that you understand how to participate in the program. Thank you. Have a good day.